Hello everyone, my name is Emily and I am 42 years old. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood with my husband Michael and my stepson Daniel. Life here is mostly serene, but I often feel a deep sense of loneliness in my marriage. Michael, my husband, is a corporate lawyer and his career demands a lot of his time and attention. He is constantly busy with back-to-back meetings, late nights at work, and endless deadlines that seem never to let up. As much as I understand the pressures and responsibilities of his job, this leaves little time for us as a couple, and sometimes I feel like a mere spectator in my own life. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so that I can continue bringing you more fascinating true stories like this one. And don't forget to watch the video until the end, because this story will be incredibly interesting. There was a time when Michael and I were deeply connected, sharing laughter, dreams, and intimate moments. We had built a life together full of love and companionship, but somewhere along the way, that spark faded. Our nights became colder and quieter, filled more with silence than the warm conversations that were once part of our daily lives. Often I lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering what went wrong. Despite everything, I find myself yearning for a warmth that I can no longer find in our relationship. A few days later, while my husband Michael was out for another evening meeting, I found myself alone at home again. The house seemed incredibly silent, an almost palpable quiet, and my thoughts consumed me as I reflected on the overwhelming encounter I had had with my stepson Daniel not long before. It had been a moment that awakened feelings I had buried inside me for far too long. I had missed the thrill of being desired, of feeling truly alive in a way that had long been absent from my life. In a desperate attempt to relieve the tension that had built up inside me, I decided to take a long, relaxing bath. I filled the tub with warm water and lit some scented candles, allowing their soft light and fragrant steam to envelop me, creating an atmosphere of tranquility. The soothing warmth of the water caressed my skin as I immersed myself in the tub, my body relaxing in the comforting embrace of the hot water. Yet my mind kept drifting back to Daniel, to the way his hands had explored my body, the passion in his kisses, the way he made me feel so alive, so desired. It was intoxicating, and the memory sent a flush of heat through me. I closed my eyes, imagining his touch and the desire that had sparked between us. The warmth of the water mingled with the heat I felt inside as I recalled the way he had looked at me, his gaze full of desire and something even deeper. Part of me was terrified, but another part craved that thrill, that connection. I was drawn to him like a moth to a flame, and I couldn't shake off the sensations that had begun to awaken inside me. Suddenly, I heard a light knock on the bathroom door, and my heart raced as I quickly sat up, the water rippling around me. "Who is it?" I called out, trying to sound indifferent, but I could hear the tremor in my voice. "It's me, Daniel," he replied, his voice soft and inviting. A shiver ran through me at the sound of his voice, and my heartbeat quickened. "What do you want?" I asked, trying to maintain a light tone despite the excitement bubbling inside me. "I wanted to make sure you were okay. You've been in here for a while," he said, and I could hear the concern mixed with something else, something that made my heart race even faster. I took a moment to compose myself, trying to set aside those feelings, but the anticipation was electrifying. "I'm fine, just taking a bath," I replied, my cheeks flushing at the thought of him standing outside the door. There was a moment of silence before he spoke again. Can I come in? I just want to see you. My heart skipped a beat as I realized he was right outside the door, and I felt an impulse to let him in. Before I could respond, he opened the door, walking in confidently. My breath caught in my throat as I looked at him. His tousled hair, the tight shirt clinging to his chest, and those piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right through me, making me feel exposed in a way I had never anticipated. I thought you might want some company, he said, his gaze drifting over the flickering candles around the room. I was surprised by his audacity, feeling the air grow thicker with tension. I don't know if that's a good idea, I stammered, my heart racing as I tried to appear composed, even though every part of me longed to draw him closer. Come on, we're alone, just for a little while, he insisted, taking a step closer. I could feel the heat radiating from him, and the tension in the air thickened, igniting something deep inside me. The desire that had been building inside me for the past few days flared up again, and I felt an uncontrollable urge to be close to him. I could already feel the weight of his desire, and it made my heart race. Okay, I finally whispered, surprising myself with my boldness, but just for a while. As he moved closer, I could see his gaze shift toward the water. I can't help but wonder what it would be like to be in there with you, he said, his voice low and provocative, sending shivers down my spine. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding as I imagined exactly that scene. What if Michael comes home? I asked, trying to sound practical, but secretly hoping he would ignore my concern. Then we'll just have to be quiet, he suggested, his smile widening as he came even closer, the warmth of his body radiating against my skin. Before I could respond, he reached out, his fingers brushing my arm, igniting a fire inside me. Please, let me in, he said, his voice heavy with desire, an echo in my heart. I hesitated, torn between the thrill of desire and the weight of my conscience, but the allure of his touch was too strong to resist. Okay, I whispered, my voice trembling, but just for a moment. Without saying anything else, Daniel stood up, removing his t-shirt and stepping into the tub beside me. The warm water enveloped us as our bodies drew closer, and the intimacy of the moment heightened the electricity in the air. I felt the outside world fade away as we locked eyes, the water splashing around us, his eyes fixed on mine. It's nice, he said quietly, his fingers grazing my thigh, rekindling a fire I thought had long since been extinguished. Yes, it is, I replied, breathless as he moved closer, our bodies now just inches apart. At that moment, the tension broke, and he leaned in, capturing my lips with his. The kiss started soft, a sweet exploration of unspoken desire, but quickly deepened as the passion between us grew. My hands found their way to his shoulders, pulling him closer as I melted against him, feeling the warmth of the water wrapping around us. Our kisses became more urgent, a dance of desire and longing that felt like a release from the loneliness I had felt for so long. I felt his hands slide down my back, then over my chest as he pressed against me and began kissing me there, sparking sensations I had long forgotten. The intoxicating thrill of being so close to him was almost overwhelming, and I surrendered completely. Daniel, I gasped between kisses, the heat between us growing more intense, threatening to consume us both. Shh, he whispered, his lips trailing down my neck, sending shivers through my entire body. Just enjoy this. I closed my eyes, losing myself in the sensations he was creating. Every kiss, every touch was like a fire waking something deep inside me. My fingers tangled in his hair as he pulled me even closer, our bodies fitting together perfectly, as if we were made for this moment. With every kiss, the outside world faded completely, leaving only the two of us entwined together in the warm water. My heart raced as his hands explored my body, sliding down my arms, then up to my face, holding me gently as our kisses grew more passionate, more desperate. "My God, how I've wanted this," he whispered, his lips brushing mine before deepening the kiss once more. "Me too," I admitted, feeling vulnerable yet exhilarated by the intensity of the moment. I held him tightly, an overwhelming rush of excitement flooding through me as his hands roamed, exploring my body in ways that made me feel alive. The boundaries I had set for myself began to blur, and I let myself sink into the warmth of the moment. I took him in my hand, giving him pleasure, and he took my shower gel, slowly applying it to my mature body, his hands gliding over my hips, the water splashing around us, intensifying the sensations. Suddenly, a loud noise interrupted the moment, and we froze. I heard the unmistakable sound of the front door opening, and my heart sank. "Michael," I whispered, panic flooding my senses. Daniel quickly pulled away, his eyes wide as we both hurried to regain some composure. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice tight with urgency. "Hide!" I hissed, pointing to the shower curtain. We moved quickly, crouching behind the curtain, our hearts pounding as we held our breath, praying Michael wouldn't come into the bathroom. I could hear his footsteps as he moved through the house, calling, "Emily, are you here?" The tension was unbearable as we sat there, curled up together, feeling the heat radiate between us. My heart raced not only from fear, but also from the thrill of what had just happened. I could feel Daniel's warm breath on my neck, and adrenaline coursed through my veins. Michael entered the bathroom, and I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping he wouldn't discover us. He started washing his hands at the sink, completely unaware of the chaos unfolding behind the curtain. The sound of the running water was a harsh reminder of our precarious situation. After what felt like an eternity, Michael finished and left the bathroom, the door closing behind him. Daniel and I exchanged a relieved glance, our hearts still in turmoil from the close call. "Wow, that was risky," Daniel whispered, his voice still thick with excitement. "I can't believe we actually did that," I replied, feeling a rush of adrenaline mixed with desire. My body was still vibrating from the encounter, and I felt exhilarated by the danger of it all. "Do you want to continue?" he asked, his gaze intense and full of desire. I hesitated, aware of the risks involved, but also feeling the irresistible pull toward him. "Yes," I whispered, my voice barely audible. We stepped out from behind the curtain, our eyes locked, the tension crackling in the air. I took a step toward him, my heart pounding as I pulled him in for another kiss. When our lips met again, I felt a rush of excitement. This time it was different. It was no longer just a secret, it was a connection, a passion that couldn't be denied, and I was ready to embrace it, whatever the consequences. I felt the urgency in his movements as he kissed me deeply, and I surrendered to the moment, allowing myself to feel everything I had been holding back for so long. A few days later, it was late afternoon, and the sun filtered through the kitchen window as I prepared dinner. The smell of sautéed vegetables filled the air, a stark contrast to the lingering excitement from our last encounter. I found myself daydreaming, remembering every touch and kiss, the way Daniel had made me feel so alive. As I stirred the pot on the stove, I heard the front door creak open, followed by the familiar sound of Daniel's footsteps. My heart skipped a beat as he entered the kitchen, a playful smile on his face. "Hey, what's cooking?" he asked, leaning against the counter. "Just dinner," I replied, trying to maintain composure. "How was your day?" "Long and boring," he said, his eyes glinting with mischief. "But it's better now that I'm here." "Really?" I asked, curious. "What do you mean?" He stepped forward, his presence warming the already cozy kitchen. "I mean that being here with you always makes my day better," he said, his voice low and inviting. The way he looked at me sent butterflies fluttering in my stomach, igniting a spark that brought me back to our stolen moments together. I turned toward the stove, trying to appear busy, but my heart raced. "You're just saying that," I replied, trying to deflect the intensity of his gaze. "No, I mean it," he insisted, moving closer until he was right behind me. "I can't stop thinking about you, about us." His words sent a shiver through me, and I couldn't help but glance over my shoulder at him. "Daniel, we can't keep doing this. It's complicated." He leaned in, resting his chin on my shoulder, the warmth of his body radiating against my back. "Why not? We both want it, don't we?" I closed my eyes for a brief moment, savoring the feeling of his warmth, the intoxicating scent of his cologne, and the undeniable chemistry crackling between us. "I want it," I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. "But it's dangerous. Sometimes the best things in life come with a little danger," he murmured, his lips brushing my ear, sending shivers down my spine. "Let's just enjoy the moment while we can." I took a deep breath, my heart pounding as I considered his words. He was right. I had longed for this connection, this spark of passion that made me feel alive again. My heart beat with desire, and I felt myself giving in to his charm. "Okay," I whispered, turning to face him fully. The air thickened with anticipation as I searched his eyes, filled with hope and longing. "Just for tonight." A triumphant smile spread across his face, and before I could change my mind, he took my hand, leading me out of the kitchen and down the hallway to my bedroom. The thrill of potentially being caught danced in the back of my mind, but the pull of the moment outweighed any hesitation. Once inside my room, he closed the door gently behind us. The atmosphere shifted instantly, the energy palpable. As he turned to look at me, his expression serious yet hungry. "I've been thinking about this moment for days," he said, moving closer, his fingers grazing my arm. I slid my hands into his pants, trying to ignite him so he could satisfy my desires without stopping. The distance between us vanished as he wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me closer until our bodies were pressed together. Without another word, his lips found mine, and I melted into him, feeling a surge of desire flood through my veins. My hands moved under his shirt as our kisses deepened. The outside world ceased to exist, leaving only the two of us, wrapped in our passion. Each kiss sparked a fire inside me, a desire simmering just beneath the surface. As our kisses grew more intense, he began exploring my body with his hands, his touch igniting every nerve. I gasped against his mouth as he caressed my back, pulling me even closer until I could feel his heartbeat against my chest. "My God, you're beautiful," he whispered between kisses, his hands finding the hem of my shirt. "I can't get enough of you." "Daniel," I whispered, the thrill of his touch sending waves of heat through me. "We really shouldn't—" "Let it happen," he urged, his voice rough with desire. "Let's forget about everything else, just for tonight." With a swift motion, he lifted my shirt over my head, his gaze trailing over my body with unashamed admiration. I felt a wave of vulnerability mixed with excitement as I stood before him, exposed and beautiful in his eyes. With a soft sigh, I felt his lips on my skin, scattering kisses along my collarbone. Each touch lit a fire inside me. My hands wandered along his back, feeling the muscles beneath his shirt, eager to touch every part of him. With that gesture, he captured my lips again, his hands moving to my back to unclip my bra. The sensation of the strap sliding away triggered another wave of heat as he moved the fabric aside, his fingers brushing my skin. He broke away from the kiss to look at me, his expression filled with awe. "You're incredible," he murmured, his eyes full of desire. "I want you," I confessed, feeling bold and reckless in that moment. "Then let's make this moment unforgettable," he said, his voice thick with longing. As he kissed me again, this time with more passion, exploring every corner of my mouth. As our bodies intertwined, the outside world faded completely. I lost myself in him, our kisses becoming more fervent as he pushed me against the wall, his hands exploring my body as if he were discovering every part of me for the first time. Time lost all meaning as we surrendered to our desires, the thrill of being together pushing us both beyond our limits. I felt alive, desired, and completely consumed by the connection we shared. Eventually, he pulled away breathless and took my hand, leading me toward the bed. "Are you ready?" he asked, his eyes dark with desire. "Yes," I whispered, my heart pounding with anticipation. We fell onto the bed together, our bodies entwined, and the thrill of what we were doing surged through me. It was a dance of passion and desire, a moment that felt both forbidden and exhilarating. As we lost ourselves in each other, I knew this was only the beginning of our passionate adventure, an electrifying secret that would change everything between us. And I was ready to embrace it fully, no matter where it would lead. The days turned into weeks, and our meetings became more frequent. Every moment we could steal together felt like a breath of fresh air, a brief escape from reality. We found comfort in furtive glances, silent touches, and passionate kisses that left us breathless. One evening, after an especially exciting encounter, we were lying tangled on the bed, the soft moonlight filtering through the curtains. I traced my fingers along Daniel's chest, feeling the warmth emanating from him. "What are we doing?" I asked, breaking the comfortable silence. The question hung in the air, laden with implications. "Living," he answered, his voice steady for the first time in a long time. I smiled at his response, but the uncertainty gnawed at the edges of my happiness. "But what happens when someone finds out?" I asked, my voice tinged with concern. "Then we'll deal with it," he said, lifting my chin to meet his gaze. "I'm not afraid of what this is. I want you." His words sent a wave of heat through me, but I couldn't shake the feeling of imminent danger. "I want you too," I admitted, feeling the weight of my feelings for him. "But for me, it's not just a game. It means something." He nodded, his expression serious. "It means something to me too. But we can't let fear hold us back. We deserve to be happy." The sincerity in his voice melted my worries, and I moved closer, capturing his lips in a passionate kiss. The intensity of our connection grew, and I lost myself in that moment, forgetting all my doubts. As I kissed him, I felt a sense of liberation. We were writing our own story, a story made of passion, desire, and the thrill of the forbidden. In the weeks that followed, we found ways to keep our connection alive amidst the chaos of our everyday lives. Each stolen moment seemed more precious than the last, and I found myself looking forward to our meetings with both excitement and apprehension. I adored the thrill of our secret rendezvous, the way Daniel looked at me, his eyes filled with desire and admiration. Each kiss, each touch, rekindled the fire inside me, a fire that had long been dormant. But as much as I tried to focus on the joy we shared, the reality of our situation always lingered in the back of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was living on borrowed time, dancing on the edge of a precipice. There were moments when I found myself wondering what would happen if Michael found out. Would he be angry? Would he understand? Or would he see me as a traitor, someone who had crossed an unforgivable line? One evening, while preparing dinner, my mind was full of thoughts about Daniel. I chopped vegetables mechanically, but my thoughts were miles away. Just then, Michael entered the kitchen, his presence pulling me back to reality. "Hey, babe," he said, placing a light kiss on my cheek. "What's for dinner?" "Just some pasta and salad," I replied, forcing a smile. As he settled in the kitchen, the familiar chatter between us resumed, but I felt a growing distance. My heart was weighed down by the secrets, and it felt like I was wearing a mask, pretending everything was normal while a storm brewed beneath the surface. After dinner, I excused myself, claiming I was tired, and retreated to my room. I sat on the edge of the bed, my thoughts in turmoil. I couldn't help but replay the moments I had shared with Daniel in my mind. His touch, his kiss, the way he made me feel alive. I already missed him. At that moment, my phone vibrated with a message. It was from Daniel. "Can we meet tonight?" it said. My heart raced at the thought. The desire to see him again, to feel that electric connection, was too strong to resist. I quickly replied, "Yes, I'll wait for you." As the night went on, the anticipation grew within me. I could hear Michael moving around the house, watching TV in the living room, completely unaware of the plans unfolding behind closed doors. When the clock struck 10, I felt my heart beat faster as a light knock on my bedroom door startled me. "Emily," Daniel's voice was barely a whisper. I opened the door and found him standing there, as beautiful as I remembered. The moment our eyes met, the tension in the air crackled with energy. Without saying a word, I pulled him inside and closed the door, shutting out the outside world. "What if Michael sees you?" I whispered, my voice filled with urgency. "He won't," he reassured me, stepping closer. The warmth of his body radiated toward me, and I could feel the magnetic pull between us. "I just needed to see you." Before I could respond, he closed the distance, capturing my lips in a passionate kiss. The world outside faded away as I melted into him, feeling the familiar rush of desire overwhelm me. Our kisses grew more urgent, and I could feel the weight of everything else slip away as we stumbled toward the bed. I could hardly think clearly, the thrill of the secret and the intoxicating heat of his body drowning my senses. We tumbled onto the bed, lost in a whirlwind of kisses and caresses. I felt alive, exhilarated, and completely consumed by the connection we shared. But just as quickly as the passion flared, a shadow of doubt crept to the edge of my mind. What if this was all a mistake? What if I was risking everything I had built with Michael? Yet, in that moment, none of it mattered. I wanted to be there with Daniel, living in this intoxicating reality where I felt desired and alive. Hours passed and we stayed entwined in each other's arms, the weight of the outside world forgotten. I knew I should think about the consequences, the life I had with Michael, but in Daniel's embrace everything seemed perfect. The intimacy we shared was something I hadn't felt in years. But eventually, the reality of the situation began to creep in, and I felt a pang of guilt. "Daniel," I said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "What are we doing?" He looked at me, his expression serious. "We're living, Emily. We're embracing something beautiful." "Yes, but it's complicated. What happens if Michael finds out?" I asked, my voice trembling. "We'll face it together," he replied firmly, as if this could make everything easier. "I'm not afraid of what this is." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to think that we could navigate this storm together, but doubt lingered in my heart. "I can't just walk away from my life with Michael. He deserves better," I said, feeling the tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "Do you love him?" Daniel asked gently. The question hung in the air, heavy with implications. "I care about him," I admitted, "but it's not the same. I haven't felt this way in a long time." "Then maybe it's time to face what you really want," he said softly. "You deserve to be happy, Emily." In that moment, I realized how right he was. I had been so focused on the consequences that I had neglected my own happiness. Looking into Daniel's eyes, I saw not just desire, but also the reflection of what had been missing in my life. "I want this," I said finally, feeling a surge of courage. "I want you." His eyes sparkled with joy and relief. "Then let's not waste any more time," he said, pulling me closer. As our lips met again, with every kiss we promised to embrace this beautiful, complicated connection. I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy and there would be challenges to face. But in that moment, with Daniel by my side, I felt ready to face the world. Whatever lay ahead, I was determined to enjoy every moment and follow my heart.